I've practiced both in Canada, the US and Australia on fairly major projects, and I don't regard myself as an Australian architect or a Canadian architect or an American architect. I'm an architect that's capable and should be capable of working anywhere and using the aspects of where you might be, or the climate or the geography or the economy or whatever it is, the influences that are local to a thing. It's sensible to me. I believe architecture is fairly common sense, and it should be. Now, whether that's global, and buggered if I know. It's logical, I find. And I've operated that way all my life. And like Bond Street, for instance, I don't know whether you'd call that an Australian building or a Canadian building, and I couldn't care less. It's a building, and it solves a number of problems that city buildings should be solving. Like it was designed to save the old building underneath, and it has a very strong impact on the form of the new building. But the two of them go together, and they speak about each other and to each other, and they speak to Sydney as a solution that keeps an old building and introduces a new building. They can complement each other, and they don't have to fight. I see nothing wrong with that, but I'm damned if I can see whether it's global or whatever. I just find it sensible.
Very good.
Well, in cahoots, if you like, with a Japanese financier, and finally it didn't proceed because it scared the pants off the Japanese. They couldn't imagine that the thing wouldn't fall over. It wouldn't have fallen over. It's absolutely perfectly balanced, and there was no particular problem about it. The way it was tensioned and that sort of thing, but you couldn't convince the Japanese, and it just slowly died a slow death. I really have no idea what, there's some silly thing went there in its place. It wasn't it wasn't a sensible use of the site or anything else. It just happened to make use of the site. Now it's just very disappointing, but just not enough strength behind it. When you're dealing with international finances, particularly with different cultures, it's very difficult to push the boundary too far. And I certainly wasn't able to push it far enough. Although for me it's one of the most exciting buildings I've ever done. It's just a shame that it was never finished, it was never built. First of all, that it was able to cope with the conditions. Like, it was necessary to keep the old building, not to destroy it, and it was necessary to put a substantial amount of office space on that site in order to make it economically feasible. It also was it needed to take advantage of its position from a city point of view, which it did very well. It takes into account its position in the city, its connection to public transport, the railway system is underneath. It just had many logical things about it that would have advantaged Sydney if it had been built.